Hello, this is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Welcome to my podcast. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by Sally Sachs. Now, Sally and I met many years ago when we both lived in Massachusetts, and since then we've both moved to different states, so we haven't seen each other in quite a while. So I'm really excited to have her on the show today. Sally, thank you for joining me today. So let's get started with, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, including your current age, if you're comfortable telling us that.
Okay, so I am turning 70 in 2 weeks, and I am a mother of 2 children and 2 dogs, and I'm also a social worker, and I work now part-time, retired, online, and I love the work that I do. And I'm also a person that I've moved quite a bit. For the past 8 years, I've lived in California and now in Florida. Um, and what I do here is I work part time, I go to activities, I go to events, and I am married to a man I've been with quite a long time, and we have a nice life here in Florida.
Okay.
That's who I am.
Okay, well, great. And happy birthday 2 weeks in advance.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, social worker, and you're about to turn 70, but you're still working because you seem to really like it.
Yes, I have experienced living in resort places where everybody is retired, and most of them have retired because they had very taxing jobs. They had to be at a desk from 9 to 5 or 9 to 10, and they really enjoy a lifestyle of kind of, doing nothing, playing cards, going to happy hour, sitting by the pool all day. And I never felt like doing that. I always really liked my job, working with people. I felt I had a purpose. I still do. And I never really thought of, oh, I'm this age, I should retire. That really didn't enter my mind, actually. And I've had a job where I've always worked for myself so I could do the job the way I wanted to. So right now, I work about 12 hours a week. I see clients and I can work them around my schedule of other things that I do during the week. So I'm very fortunate in that way that I picked a career that I can do that. And yeah, I love working. Turning 70, I work with a lot of younger, mostly couples. Therapy is what I do. I help them to communicate. I help them to learn about how their past has affected them in life, and how to just make their lives better together by basically learning how to communicate with each other. And I love it. I can't imagine not doing it.
Wow, that's really great. So, knowing
Yeah.
that this podcast is aimed towards people 50 plus, what
Yep.
would you say, what advice would you give for older adults to maintain or even improve their mental health?
So, one of the things I have never had that I encourage people to work with is, to me, age is a number. I don't look at myself in any sense of who I am, of, oh, now I'm 70. I can't wear my hair like this. I can't do this because I'm older. Um, so I encourage people to get themselves out there and try something new. I've had to do that because at 61, I moved to California and I knew very few people. I moved with my husband and I meet people and connect with people. So I would say an exercise. I'm an avid exerciser since I was 18, 19. You have to make exercise part of your life, whatever it is for you, because if you don't, you become old very quickly. It isn't by chance that people age well. It's usually because they're taking care of themselves, they're eating well, they're doing exercise, um, and they just feel better. And I think that's important. I don't think should be any shoulds on age. I don't like hearing that when people say, oh, people should just let themselves get old and age. I don't think that. I think you know, if you want to feel young and you want to feel good, get out there and do things. You know, ride a bike, take a yoga class, meet new friends, go try an art class you never took before. Get involved in things so you're not lonely
Mm. Okay,
and do
so
whatever you want. Do
you so
whatever makes you feel young, you know,
yeah,
and good.
yeah. So you brought up an interesting point, loneliness, which is a key marker for longevity. Lonely people live shorter lives statistically.
Hmm.
So what would
Hmm.
you, how would you speak to that?
I would say, and this is what I tell my clients, that you have to go against yourself. There are some people that are naturally very gregarious. They love to be around people. They're very social, whether they're 30 or whether they're 80. But there are other people that, and certainly where I grew up in Massachusetts, it was like that. They stay in their own circle forever, and they don't, you know, they don't leave their sisters, they don't leave their family. They just, you know, they stay in that group. And when you don't want to be lonely, you find that as people get older, you know, people have different lives, they leave, they have grandkids, they get involved with their grandkids. So you have to push yourself beyond your limits into things that are uncomfortable. And an example of that is I left all my friends in California and I moved to Florida. I knew no one here. And I really didn't like Florida when I first moved here. But I said, if I'm going to live here, and I am going to live here, I'm going to put myself out here. And the first thing I did was I went to a business group of 50 women who knew each other because they had all been here. I didn't know anybody. And you know, I was uncomfortable. I'm like, all right, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I ended up doing it. And many of those women now, a year later, have become my friends.
Mm.
So the same with exercise. You know, people will say, well, you know, I don't exercise. I have a bad back or I do this. And I say, so push yourself and go to water aerobics. You know, do something that you can do, but get yourself out there. Because if you just sit there, you sit in front of the TV and you do nothing, you can't grow.
Mm. Okay.
So yeah, so you have to push yourself beyond sometimes what's comfortable.
Got it. So personally, what do you actually do for like exercise, nutrition, stress management, all that to keep yourself healthy?
Okay, so what I do, and I'm not perfect, I like sweets. I like chocolate especially. Um, but for exercise right now, out here in Florida, we have a lot of activities for older people. And I go to the YMCA here, where they have about 65 classes a week. And I take a weightlifting, and it's not a big, hard course. It's fun, it's to music, at least 3 times a week, to build bone strength and to, you know, help my balance and all that, so I can prepare for that. And then I'm a avid hot yoga person, which not everybody is, but I enjoy it. I love it. So I belong to a hot yoga studio. So I probably am exercising like 5 days a week. And if I don't do that, and I just have a day where I'm like, I don't feel like going to the gym or I don't feel like doing that, usually I'll go for a walk. Um, I have 2 dogs, and their dogs and pets are incentive because if you don't get out, for people that don't, I say to them, get a dog because dogs need to be walked. And that's a form of exercise too. You know, there's no shoulds. there's whatever works for you. I don't drink a lot. I will say that a lot of people that are my age do, especially in these resort communities. A lot of things revolve around drinking, happy hours, eating, and I'm really not a big drinker. Like I love a glass of wine, going out for a wine, but I think that keeps you happy too.
Hmm.
Because a lot of alcohol, it's a lot of sugar. Do I eat sweets or eat a piece of cake or do yes, I do, but in moderation. I'm pretty careful about what I eat, without being restrictive and being obsessed, because that's not good either. Um, yeah, so I would say exercising, activities, friendships, and connecting to things. An example in Massachusetts, I have a woman that she's turning 70 and she's very lonely. She's divorced. And I told her, why don't you go out and join a meetup group? And she goes, oh, I don't know. I don't know anybody. I don't want to do that. And then, I just saw her recently and she said, oh my God, Sally, I joined a meetup group where all these people in my area meet for games. And she said, I have like every Friday and Sunday every week booked to go over to someone's house and play a game and we make food. She said, thank you for telling me to do that because it's not typically something I would do. So getting out of your comfort zone.
So you sound like you personally are extremely active.
I am.
Yeah.
And that's my personality.
Hmm.
And the other thing, even when you're not active, find places that, and if you live in a different state, not everybody lives in a resort place, but like here, we have a community pool, and every day, in my little community, we have about 10 villas that are right on my street. Um, 3 women are at the pool every single day from like 2 to 4. So every day when you want company, you just go down to the pool and we talk about everything, kids, family, things we want to do. So I say to people, seek out things. And for couples, I just want to add this in, not only being a therapist and dealing with couples all the time in my job, but personally, as people get older, um, they need their own things. Even if they're happily married, I've been with my husband now 26 years, but you still need friends. You need to be able to have friends and do things with them and not just have it be the two of you all the time. So
Hmm.
that's why it's so important to have many of my friends are married, many of my friends there are single, but the married ones, they love doing things with their husband, but they also want to have friends to do things with. That like I went to I told you I went to a sound bath and a Reiki event on the beach, on Venice Beach. It was beautiful. It was sunset. Everybody bought chairs and something to drink, and my husband, he doesn't even know. He doesn't care. So, but I have that I can go to.
Hmm.
So you always want to reach out and meet other people. So it's not just the two all the time getting old.
Got it. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. I agree with everything you've said. Very interesting stuff. So, another key marker to longevity is having a reason to get out of bed every morning or a purpose in life.
Yeah.
So, what would that be for you?
Um, well, for me, it's being alive and feeling lucky that I am not unable to move like many people that can't, that
Hmm.
have back problems, MS, and certainly as you approach 70, you see a lot of people like. So that's one thing. to wake up and know that I'm healthy, in my body. And I work on that. I'm not just a person, always, spend life trying to be better, trying to learn more, trying to control stress. And also, I have dogs, and I loved being a mom and raising kids. Now I have two little dogs. I have a 10-month-old puppy, a 4-year-old, a dachshund, and a chihuahua. And they're my kids, and I love walking them, take them to the park. They're so loving. Dogs, I think, for older people any age, but particularly for older people, pets are wonderful if you can have one. Just have to make sure you have money or you have uh, pet insurance because they can get costly. And my kids are grown, but knowing that I can go and visit them and see them. And another really important thing is liking where you live. When I left California and I moved to Florida, I just hated it here. I moved to a more elderly community. It's 55 and up, but more like, 80 and up. And it was all like nursing home, assisted living kind of activity. And I just wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to sit around and play cards every day and, braid my hair with silk colors. Just, it just wasn't my thing. And I was very unhappy there. And it was small. It was reasonable. It was a rental, and it had everything done for you, modern, new. But I was unhappy there because it just wasn't my vibe. It wasn't where I wanted to be. And so my husband and I decided to move when our lease was up. We had a year lease, and we bought a little like Spanish villa in a small neighborhood. It's a small, quiet neighborhood that was built in the 70s. And I'm so happy. Every day I look out on my lanai and, it's low key and it's just quiet. I don't walk out and there's a million people and a million activities. So liking where you live, um, checking people that live near you, making sure that you like the people. You're not going to get into a bad way. And that makes me get up of thinking, oh, I'm going to fix up my den today and make it really nice. And then I can have someone over.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that point you talk about liking where you live because there's a lot of research coming out now that says that different areas, different cities, even in particular countries, are happier places to live. I believe Singapore is
Yeah.
one of them, as opposed
Oh,
to some, if you're not happy, that's
yeah.
going to, again, directly relate to your health and well being, right?
Oh, it really does. And the people matter too, and you will find, people will say to me, oh, how do you do that? You must be rich. You lived in Palm Springs. Now you live in Venice. Well, I'm not rich. I work really hard and I have worked really hard all my life, but I find ways to do what I want,
Mm-hmm.
and find the price, like when I wanted to move to Southern California, I couldn't afford San Diego or LA, which are ridiculous, but the desert was less. And I found a way to live on a golf course and have a really nice 2-bedroom condo and pool. And I found something that I could afford. The only thing was you had to deal with in the summer 125-degree heat, but it really wasn't bad. You drove your car everywhere and you had your routine. Um, so obviously the coast is cooler, and that's why it's going to be more expensive. So find what you can do and don't ever say never. You know, um, my kids think I'm like multi-millionaire. They're like, Mom, you lived in Palm Springs and you lived, and I said, find ways to do what I want in ways that I can do it.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think you can do that with anything, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Good advice. I like it. Okay, well then, this is really great stuff, and you've got definitely a very healthy, youngish attitude, and I wish you all the best.
Let's hope. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for listening. This is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Until next time, be well, friends. This podcast is presented solely for informational and educational purposes only. Use of information from this podcast is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician or other qualified professional. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from use of this podcast.